So, first of all, I would like to thank Nelly for accepting our invitation for this interview. Nelly Deutsch is a Canadian education technology expert who organizes online professional development programs using Moodle and other edtech tools for educators worldwide. She combines technology with mindfulness, peer learning, and teamwork in all her programs. She is a relationship-based mentor, researcher, writer, speaker, and community builder. More about Nelly will be on our site. Nelly, thanks again. And let's start our interview because I have several questions for you. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, my first question is about your expertise in professional development programs. What are some of the most common challenges you face or faced in organizing these types of programs?
That's an excellent question. I could probably write a book about it. So thank you for asking it. I started using technology, and I really must confess that because I felt that I wanted to reach my students. I had up to sometimes 50 students in the classroom. This was an English language class. And I felt that, you know, they were there and I was in front of them and I couldn't feel the connection. And I wanted to reach each and every one of them. I wanted to help them with their spoken English. I wanted to help them with everything that I could. And I thought that I was speaking to, you know, a prototype, a student prototype. And I couldn't manage that. You know, I couldn't continue speaking to, you know, it was like speaking to an avatar. You know, I had to kind of generalize and think, well, you know, who is the average student? And I just couldn't do it. So I decided that I can't go on with this. I have to find a way to reach them. And that's what I did. I decided to teach in a computer lab. And I'm talking about a particular high school class. Their English was quite good. And they studied computer science. So I took them to the computer lab. And since there were only 20 places in one lab, I took the other lab too. So I had two labs. And this was the first time I was scared because I didn't know how to use, I mean, I knew how to use my computer, but I didn't know how to, you know, help. I mean, how do I help them? So what happened was that I learned that they didn't know anything about learning a language through computers. They didn't know much about PowerPoints. And that's how I started, because sometimes the computers, you know, there were technical issues. The computers just didn't work. So what do you do? So I worked on PowerPoints and asked them to develop different things on different topics. And slowly I learned that I was the one that knew more than they knew, even though they were computer science students, but they didn't know anything about learning English through computers. So that's how I started. Scared because they would laugh at me because they knew and I didn't know anything. I didn't realize that I knew how to teach English, and that's all you need. You need to be confident because you know what you know the subject matter, and that's all you need. So that's how it started in 1993.
Wow.
So you can imagine how much I accumulated in, 30 years. Oh my gosh. I can't believe that. That doesn't make sense, but it's true. 1993, and now it's 2023. So happy anniversary to everyone. So yeah, that's how I started.
Okay. You said that you work with educators worldwide, right? From all over the world. Do you have an idea of where are the majority of these professionals from?
Oh my gosh, they're from everywhere. They're from South America, each and every country. I don't think I missed one South American country. They're all there, including the English-speaking Guyana, every country in South America. In the United States, I'm not sure if all 50 states, but that's not really worldwide, right? That's in Canada also, throughout Canada. And then in Europe, every country in Europe. I don't think I missed a country. And then, of course, there's the Eastern Europe with Russia, Hungary, and countries that are there. The Far East, I would say, well, I can think of Vietnam, Thailand, Korea, Singapore, China, and then the Far East and the Middle East, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Oman, Yemen, every country, Africa. Okay, Africa, South Africa, Eastern Mozambique. I don't know if I missed Congo, Nairobi, what other country, Tanzania. Even in South Africa, there are lots of countries. Australia, New Zealand, Papaya, any country that I missed, I don't know. I'd say everywhere.
Do you have many from Brazil?
China, of course.
China.
Japan and Taiwan.
India.
You can think of India. Oh, lots of. India is my favorite. They even invited me to India. It was wonderful to be there. And then they came to New Delhi, and they came from countries that I had no idea. I mean, different parts of India. And it was really nice to get it. South America, I met some, but not. But in India, I met a lot during my visit there. And of course, Europe. But I can't think of another country. Think of another country, and I'll tell you.
Okay.
So yeah, it's every country, not face to face, as I said. It's online. Mostly, but also face to face.
Do you have many from Brazil? No, not many.
A lot. Are you kidding? Brazil?
A lot.
Yes, a lot. And I was in Brazil for a little bit. I went to Paraguay, and I was at the border of Brazil and Argentina, mostly Brazil. There's a place where they intersect, right? All three countries. And yeah, but I didn't meet, I don't think I met any of my friends from Brazil, but I may have. Argentina, yes, I met a lot of my colleagues from Argentina, and of course Paraguay, but the other countries, oh yes, of course, Ecuador's. Yeah, I did meet some from Ecuador as well. Name a country and I'll tell you. I can think of just about everybody that. Venezuela. I met a few from Venezuela when it was possible to travel, and I had a lot of students from Venezuela as well. Chile, and of course Central America. Forgot about Central America.
Sure.
Mexico, sure. And yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. In your bio, you mentioned that you are a relationship-based mentor. What does it mean?
Yeah, well,
to be a relationship-based mentor.
Yeah, that's what happened. That was the reason why I started technology with my students, so that I could build relationships with them one-on-one, and I also wanted them to build relationships with each other based on learning, not just friendship, but friendship plus through working together on different projects. That's what I've been doing online, I guess, since 2009. That's when I started to practice engaging teachers online with each other. and of course, building communities. And yeah, that's how I work. I build, I mean, build sounds like a terrible word. So I build communities, but I also work on my relationships with everybody that I work with. I mean, I can't see it any other way. I can't see, the formal, formal relationship doesn't mean anything to me. It has to be informal. It has to be, on a personal level. So I would say a personal relationship, a personal level where, you know everything about everybody. And then I developed this into mindfulness. I teach mindfulness, and this is where it really comes in because, you're helping teachers and students grow as individuals and, of course, professionally with teachers. So that's what I mean by relationship. I think it's very important to do that.
No,
I'm sure
sure.
you do it yourself when you do these interviews. I used to do interviews too for a company that I worked with as well, and you learn a lot about people because you don't just ask them questions. You try to be friendly and to be kind and to be friends as you do it. So that's my way as well. So I think it's important.
I like very much the idea of community building, but I know that this is not an easy task because it's an ongoing process, right? It requires time, it requires effort, it requires commitment, right? So what do you consider very important, the most important features to build a community of learners or a community of interests?
I think that the way I approached it is, I think, believing that it's possible, having a positive attitude that this will work. And I think that's with face-to-face as well as online, that collaboration will work because it's natural. And I think the minute you believe that it'll work, you'll find ways to make it work. And I think that's the first step to believe that this is possible, online and face-to-face. And then whatever happens, you go with it. You don't let, people are people, and you're a person too. So you try to keep people busy, working together. So the minute they work together, they can't think of fighting one another or having, issues because they're so busy working. Even face to face, the minute you give them tasks, and everybody has a task, and everybody wants to get things done, and they're motivated, and you kind of divide the team into roles, and everybody has a role, an important role that they choose. You don't hand it out, but they choose their roles. I think the minute they have a common goal, the rest, they do it themselves. I just stand by and, watch them have a good time. So it's not really that hard. And it's not time consuming because they do all the work.
But empathy is something very important in community building, right? Because if you group people and there is a type of I don't know, right? Something that they don't like each other for a reason, specific reason, then the community is not so good as if everything goes well.
That's why having a common goal and wanting to succeed with that, they realize that it's important. Of course, they have a spokesperson, they come to me and they try to explain that this person's doing that and this person. And I tell them that part of your grade, because grade's is to figure out how to work together. You figure it out. It's not my problem. I don't say it like that, but they realize that it's something that is worth their while. It's better to work together than not to work together. But you're right, it's a process, and it sometimes it takes time. Sometimes they prefer to leave a group, and that's fine. They go into another group. That's okay too, because I don't choose the groups for them. They choose their own community, their own groups. And that's fine too, even though they know that they will lose, because the benefit, and I explain this to them, the minute things are hard, you should say, bravo, things are hard, because you're going to learn more that way. So I kind of brainwash them, if you want to call it that. I convince them that having problems and issues will help them grow. So the minute they hear that, oh, I'm going to grow out of this, so suffer, I mean, it's good to face these things. So okay, let's give it a try. And I also give them tools, you know, how to do it. You can try this or that. You know, I'm there for them, and they know that they will learn from it. So I think that's the key. They want to learn. Everybody wants to learn, and they want to grow. So, you know, the minute you kind of let them see things as they are, instead of running away. So running away will, you know, what will that do for you? You're going to keep running away for the rest of your life. You know, we need to face things.
Yeah, and once you see the problem and try to solve the problem straight away, I think you diminish the problems, and you avoid that the students or the teachers, the professionals, destroy the community, right?
Yeah, but people, you know, if they do that, it's on them. You know, and they can take responsibility. It's your responsibility to you know, to do what you can. So let's see, what can we do to and I asked them at the beginning, you know, they have tasks to build their community. What will help you? What do you need? And they write down all their needs from the community. And then the minute they learn about their needs and what other people need, they learn to see that everybody's more or less the same. You know, some people like to take over. So they you know, they ask them, you know, who likes to take over? Well, and then people start thinking, well, I do. I like to take over. So let's talk about that. They discuss their own needs, you know, and they learn to be open. The minute you're open with who you are, you're willing to see the other people too.
One thing that worries me is the leadership problem, concern. What do you think about leadership? Is it something that is developed, or is inborn? And inborn, I don't know if it is a characteristic or feature.
Someone who's charismatic. No, I think that you know, with teachers, you know, most teachers, for example, like to talk a lot, and they like to be at the center, and they like to present, and they, you know, so I give them a chance to do that. The minute you kind of give them leadership rules, and they can lead, or at least they have the opportunity to lead, then you know, then they decide whether this is what they want or not. So as far as leading the group, which sometimes, well, it turns out anyways, there's always someone who leads, but they decide who's going to lead. And if there are two people who want to lead, they can work together and lead. But generally, from my experience, they develop leaders, or they choose leaders. But it's important. I mean, I used to think that, you know, let's divide the leadership. Everybody will, it doesn't work. There has to be someone who pushes or who's in charge. But there are also cheerleaders, you know, people who make sure that everybody sticks to their time, you know, timekeeper. I mean, there are different roles and that generally they choose their roles and it works. I don't think that leaders, I mean, the whole idea of leaders are born or leaders are made, or, you know, I think everyone's a leader, especially nowadays. Everybody likes to share information, and they like to, you know, with TikTok, they want to be the best, or with Instagram, they want to be up there, or, you know, they want to lead, and they're very competitive, which is fine, you know, but there's so many others who don't want to be, they'd rather follow. So this is something that they could discuss within the team. But I personally, I don't think that there may be pushers, but I'm not, you know, people who push, but I don't think, and bullies, you know, who think that they can, but I don't think that, you know, effective leaders are born. I think they life provides them with the tools, and then they can decide what they want to be, if they're leaders or not. Personally, I would ask you, I mean, you can look at political leaders. How did they get up there? Were they kind and gentle and collaborative, or did they just, So I think the word leader might have gotten a bad taste in most people's minds.
So in every group, you have leaders. You have the ones who are cheerleaders, who push the things up. You have the ones who are more timid and need guidance, right? So it all depends on how they build their own teamwork, right? Something like that.
Yeah, you provide, as a teacher, you provide them with, you guide them. You provide them with, these are the possible roles. You can choose your roles. You can add other roles, just to guide them, because it's hard for anyone to kind of, when you put people together, if you don't give them some kind of instructions or, specific skills that they will need to use, they're not going to go anywhere. So you have to be very active before, and then once they start going, you can sit back and just watch them do it. And even be bored, because they do all the talking and all the work, and then they present, of course, whatever their, the task is.
Well, that's great. That's really great. Now, I wanted to change a little bit about the conversation and to talk about innovation in education. Innovative tools. Do you think innovative tools or applications, they frighten the educators? Are these tools and these applications discussed in the team group or in the communities that are formed on the internet?
Of course, they also have a technologist. Generally, they have someone who's in charge of the technology, who kind of discusses or is the one that leads it. There's always someone who can do that. When you talk about teachers and technology, nothing has changed since in the past 30 years. Even with COVID, teachers went back to teaching without technology. They hated it. And they had reasons for it, because it wasn't done properly. They were forced to use meeting rooms such as this one and Zoom and others. It wasn't done properly. They weren't ready for it. So they went back. But this was even before the pandemic. They didn't use it. Teachers are, I guess, just like I was before I went into the computer lab. I was scared, but I dared. In other words, I knew that I had to find a way. So I think if teachers, educators don't have a reason to use technology, why should they? Why should they? You only use it if you see a need. It's like using a pencil. If you don't need it, you're not going to. Why would you use anything, any tool, unless you have a reason for it? So I think that they have a right to feel uncomfortable. It's natural that they feel uncomfortable. And if you want to change their minds, you have to, first of all, help them see, or at least understand them and see if there is a need, but you can't force it. And I think that's one of the mistakes that schools and educators, they call it innovation because, like chat, AI and immersive technology, that's new, but you can't, why would teachers use it? You have to kind of help them understand that help them find out what they need. So what do you need as a teacher? Do you want to lecture? Okay, so you can use a PowerPoint, or I don't know. What do you want to do in your classroom? You want students to speak? Do you want them to, if you understand your teaching, and this is what I do with most of the teachers, They go through TPI, which is Teaching Perspectives Inventory. This was done in 2001, but it's still applicable. And find out what kind of teacher you are. What are your needs? What do you want to do? If you don't know who you are as a teacher, then you're not going to go anywhere, and you're not going to, I mean, why would you look for anything else? You're happy with what you are, and you don't know who you are, and that's how it's going to continue. And nobody can change your mind. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they should.
But don't you think the students are expecting more from teachers?
Students, it depends where. If you're talking about university students, all they want is a grade. Okay, all they want in higher education is a grade. They don't care what you do, how you do, they just want to pass the exam. If you help them pass the exam, you're a great teacher. If you give them a low grade, doesn't matter what technology you use, you're a terrible teacher, they'll give you bad comments. So all they want is that grade. They're not interested in learning, they're not interested in having fun, they just want that grade. Unless you're a teacher, like me, who is going to show them that it can be different and that learning can be fun and it's not just about the grade. But otherwise, you know, the university is interested in grades. Everybody wants to pass their exams and that's it. So they don't care. They're happy. Just make it as little effort as possible. I don't want to do anything if I don't have to. As a student.
True. That's true.
So they don't want it. We want it. Teachers want it more than they do. And
I guess so.
And you have to know, and the excuse that it's good for you, you know, you can't do that. You can't expect anyone to do what because it's good for them. You know, smoking is also bad for you. And there's so many, you know, research and articles and promotions against smoking, but people still smoke because they don't have a reason not to. I mean, health is not a reason. Logic is not a reason for anything. So that's why I call it relationship based, because the minute you reach them in a human way and they trust you, they'll do anything. Students and teachers, if they trust you, they'll follow you, they'll jump into the water with you.
That's true.
So if you build trust, everything will follow.
So what do you consider the most important things to do in order to get students to trust what you do, even though you are a traditional teacher? Did you understand what I mean?
Yes, all you need to do is, first of all, is smile at the student. Make them feel good. Don't put them down. Don't bully them. Don't get upset at them because they're not doing things the way you want them to do it. If they make mistakes, don't be angry. I mean, I've heard so many students tell me, of all ages, why aren't other teachers patient like you? So I think because they say it, I never thought that, you know, it was anything special. I thought this was the norm, you know, to be patient and to try to understand them. And if they make a mistake, it's because they didn't know. You can help them. And, you know, your goal is to, I read somewhere about a therapist that it's not in DBT, it's not the therapist's fault. And it's not the client's fault or the patient's fault. It's the fault of the system, the way that the therapist approached the patient. It was the wrong approach. So let's find out what the approach is, but never blame, you know. And I find that what we do as teachers, and I've heard this from is blame the student. The student didn't do this. The student is stupid. The student was late. The student wasn't behaving. The student was laughing in class. The student raised his voice or raised her voice or whatever. You know, it's always, and that position of, you know, them and me and, you know, is very, very dangerous to any kind of trust or communication. Or so you need to, traditional teachers, what I recommend is do mindfulness. First of all, learn to pause, take care of yourself, of your health. If you want to be a traditional teacher, that's fine. Just take care of yourself. Um, learn to be patient, practice loving your students, seeing them as, even if you have to look at them as babies, which is what I also did a few times with really bad, misbehaving students. I just saw them as little babies. When a baby cries, you don't yell at the baby, right? So when an adult learner cries or, complains or has a tantrum or yells or whatever, you don't, you treat them like babies with patience and care. And to do that, you need to take care of yourself. So I suggest that teachers take care of themselves and the rest will be easy.
That's why you stress so much mindfulness for teachers or in the programs that you offer?
Yeah, for students and for teachers. I've been doing it in the classroom, and when it wasn't popular, I didn't call it mindfulness. I didn't call it meditation. I called it listening exercise. I told the students, we're going to do some listening exercises. You'll follow my voice. And that's how we started it. So it was listening practice and listening to English, right? And it wasn't always my voice. It could be the voice of, a tape recorder or an app on a phone. But they don't have to know what they're doing, but even pausing and looking at the students, looking at them, not just speaking at them or wanting them to produce or speak or asking questions and nobody answers, that's fine. You can't expect them. You can't, it's like a parent, you can't expect your children or your students to do what you want because you ask them to. You're not, and I think teachers misuse this role. They think that everybody has to obey them or they feel uncomfortable, because they're not doing what you tell them to do. But why should they? If you don't have a communication or relationship with them.
So from what you said, I believe that the one thing that is very, very important is to make everybody, the teacher and the students, feel belonging to the place, to the community. Being online or being face to face, they have to feel present, to feel belonging to where they are, to the space where they are. Is that right? This is more important than anything else, more important than tools, and more important than anything.
More important than the content that you're trying to get across, because the minute they're calm and ready and they want to listen to you and they want to listen to each other. So, you help them develop their listening. And this is not only for language learning, it's also for other subjects. They have to be aligned to listen, not only to you, but to each other and learn from each other, respect one another. Otherwise, they're going to come in, sit there, turn off or put their headsets in. Turn off. And they're going to be sitting there looking at you, but they're not there. You're going to have zombies in the classroom. So
but this is not an easy thing to do, right? To make everybody feel they are present, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why mindfulness. That's what it does. In mindfulness, you learn to live with your. You learn to connect to your body. So if you start this at the beginning of your class. And they do this in Japan, in China. It's very popular to do. They also have Tai Chi exercises in Japan, where you connect to your body. So even in the classroom, you could ask them, let's put our hands on our laps, and you leave your eyes open. With mindfulness, you don't have to close your eyes; it's not necessary. And let's focus on our feet on the ground, and on where we're sitting. Let's focus there for a minute. And they learn it, take a deep breath, let it out. Another one, you do 3 of them. and then they're ready. And some of them are so ready. Some of my, and I heard this from other teachers too. It's not just my experience, from other teachers who took this advice and did mindfulness in the classroom, which is just a few pauses. You just, if there's a lot of noise, you just stop, you look at them, and you say, okay, let's take it, and everybody does it naturally. Nobody laughs, nobody thinks it's strange. I don't know, everybody seemed, so she said one of her students who was problematic, this was in, I think a junior high, a 14, 15-year-old, was causing problems. He couldn't pay attention. He would be hyper and moving around and everything. She did an exercise standing up, everybody was, and he wanted to stay like that. He said he felt so good. He asked her if he could keep standing because he enjoyed it so much. The first time that she connected with him, or that he connected with her, because he said, this is so wonderful. So, they start talking about it as well, how they feel, and it feels good. And can we do this again? Can we do it before exams? So yeah, that's one of the things that can do it.
So all these are techniques, right, Nelly? So do you think all these techniques help the teachers to advance and to teach either traditionally or using all these new tools that appear all the time? Because the tools are only complement, they are only supplement for the classroom. They are not going, because I think many teachers are afraid of using them and afterwards having them substitute the teacher, and that's not true. Right?
No, in the face-to-face classroom, first of all, what's really important, I think that many students and young learners realize this during the pandemic, that to be physically there is so important, and to be together. I think that we most teachers will appreciate it, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they didn't go back to using technology. Technology, I think, is not for the classroom. I mean, from using it in the classroom for so many years, 30 years, I came to the conclusion that I prefer to do other things. They can use technology while they're working in teams, yes. But I think that being together in teams, because it's not just the classroom and the teacher, I want them to be working together. I think that this togetherness, physically being together, is more important than anything else. And using technology is more suitable for at home or on the way to school, or, they can use their phones, of course, because I don't use computers anymore with my students. It's only on the phone. That's what we have in the classroom. I mean, the computer labs of 30 years ago and now phones. So they can use them in the classroom. And you can vary it. Sometimes you need that kind of break, depends on how long, the class is. But sometimes, you need to give them an activity so that they can kind of settle down. So I give them timed either teamwork, but you can do this with Kahoot or with Quizlet, for example, where they work in teams, and you time them. They have to do a project, let's say in 10 minutes, you have to do something. So this is something that you can do at the end of the lesson if you see that your students are restless or, it's too much. I mean, how much can you kind of listen to the teacher, a traditional teacher? How much can you listen? So sometimes it's good to give them a break of some kind, whether it's with technology or with mindfulness, or let them talk among themselves in their teamwork. You can vary it. There's so much you can do, but I think technology is more for individual as well as teamwork, but you don't have to be together. And maybe it's even better not to be together with that phone, but to use the phone and work together, but to be in different places. For example, they can be in their homes and they can be using their computers or their phones to do projects outside the classroom. But I think the classroom is better. if it stays, and if you can think of all the things that you can do and maximize that face-to-face interaction.
Mm-hmm.
We
Well,
need that.
this is true for face-to-face, right? Face-to-face teaching. But what about online teaching?
Online
that is harder, isn't it?
No,
Or not?
it's not hard.
Or it's the
not
same?
hard. No, it's different because you're not face to face, so you don't have that that kind of connection. Okay,
Don't
right
you
now
think
we're
it
talking,
is harder?
right? It's not a question of harder. It's different. It's not the same kind of communication. So right now you're on my screen and I'm on your screen, and I don't know who's watching this. They're on their screen. So we're not really, it's virtual. You know, there's a reason why they call it virtual, a virtual class, because it's not real. It's almost real, but it's not, even though the brain thinks that, but we know it's not. We need, I mean, I can see your face, but I'm not there and you're not here and we're not together. So, you know, it's not that it's harder, it's different. And we need both, in my opinion. And I think that the online is better off at home because it is at home, right? I think that's where, but if you're going to do an online program, I teach in Greece, but I don't live in Greece. And the kind of communication that I have to imagine all the time. I have to, you know, that these are real people, even though I know they're real people, and I communicate with them. But you know, and we do develop relationships, you know, and we try to get closer, even though it's a university, so it's a little bit, you know, there's always that distance, and now there's the distance, physical distance. But you know, there's still some kind of connection. But it's virtual, you know, it's almost, but it's not.
But when it is virtual, I'm thinking about virtual learning. You have a group of students from different parts of the world. How do you make them really feel they belong to the group? This is my
Same
question.
Same way. It's the same way, only with technology. In other words, they have groups. I use Moodle. So Moodle it's a learning management system. So it has, and it's made for collaborative learning. So they team up, you know, they're, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, whatever, doesn't matter, 100. They team up. Mm-hmm. They decide, they're different plugins, they're called, but they're different tools where they can team up through the tool. So, for example, they can add their interests, and then someone starts a group and people join that group, or they leave a group and they join another group. In other words, dynamic until a certain date. And then they work together on a project, and they have their roles, and they have a Google Doc, for example, and they write what their needs are and how they like to communicate, when they're available. They write everything down, everything about themselves. And then they reflect and they talk to each other. And sometimes they have meetings, you know, on Zoom or different places. And, you know, they do things together. They try to accomplish different tasks together, but they also have roles, you know, who's going, and they decide on the roles as well. So it's exactly the same thing. But it's everybody's in their own home. You know, they don't meet face to face, so it's different. But and they love it. You know, they love it. They enjoy it. They get to know one another, and then they want to continue working together, and they want to do things together. And they do things together. They create courses. They write books together. I mean, talking about teachers, they do research together. And then sometimes they meet each other. You know, so it becomes, it grows. It's the same thing. But we can't live like that, can we? We need, you know, we think of family members who live far away, you know, the connection just wears off, you know, but it does in school too. If you don't continue working together, or your colleagues, you don't continue working with them, you know, the connection wears off. So the connection is always temporary as long as you're working together. The minute you stop working together, that connection breaks off. Any kind of connection, even family, unfortunately, diminishes when you're not there face to face. So, it's the same, but it's different.
But do you think the teacher has more to be the push coordinator of
the teacher's
situation,
always the one,
or not? It's equal.
The teacher's always the one organizing it. I mean, I organize everything, but you have to organize and you have to see. And what's nice online is when you organize, you're always making changes, but also face to face, you're making changes all the time according to whatever you see. And then you change your plan. You can't be rigid in what you're doing. You have to be flexible. But you're the one that's organizing the whole thing. You're orchestrating the whole thing. You're the conductor. But they don't feel that, or sometimes maybe they do, but in a good way they feel it. They don't feel like you're pushing. You're just providing them with everything that they need to communicate, to grow together, to work together, to collaborate, and to do the tasks, to get the and to enjoy. They really have a good time, and they enjoy learning in the end. Even those that thought that they're only there for the grade, eventually enjoy the process. And I talk a lot about the process. That's my thing too. And another thing is they teach one another. That's how I do it. They're always creating videos and different ways of and it's really easy when you let them and you provide them with with clear-cut instructions on how to do it, and you provide them with whatever they need as you learn about them, that they teach one another, and everybody likes to teach. So when you talk about leaders, and if you're thinking of a teacher as being a leader, then they're all teachers, they're all leaders, they all teach one another. So they're equal in that. And
so they have really to understand the idea behind the teaching. I think this is also something very important, right? Because if you believe what is behind, then you can produce more, be effective, right?
I don't know. I think nowadays everyone understands what it means to share information. Not even nowadays, even young children, the age of, look what I did, mommy. Look, I mean, everybody wants to show what they did, right? And that's, or what they know, right? And that's what they do on Facebook and social networks. They want to show what they know, and they don't just keep it to themselves. I mean, there are very few children who keep I don't think there are children, very young children who learn something and keep it to themselves. And as they get older, some of them, learn, undo this, they kind of stop teaching others what they know because maybe nobody paid attention to them. Maybe somebody hurt them, didn't appreciate what they said, didn't encourage them. So they stop this. So what I do is I bring it back. I bring back this, I think it's something that's ingrained in us to let people know what we know, to share our skills, our knowledge. So I think that's it's really, really simple when you think about it. You don't have to think of yourself as a teacher, because I think everybody's a teacher. I remember one person said this so well in a keynote speech that he gave in Vancouver, where he said that everything is not only is everyone a teacher, but everything is a teacher, because you learn from anything that you look at. It teaches, whether you realize it or not, right? It teaches you something. A person who speaks, a person you meet at the grocery store, the supermarket, you're learning. Everyone teaches us something. They speak to us. They say something. We look at their faces, and we learn something, we think of, I mean, we're constantly learning, right? And we're constantly being taught. So everything and everyone is a teacher. And so I don't think that, I mean, I tell this to my students too, that we're all teachers. I think maybe that makes them feel good, that I'm not the teacher, but we're all teachers, and you're going to be teaching each other. And this is not only to teachers, it's also to students who are not teachers and don't, well, sometimes they do have, I've had a lot of teacher students who became teachers because they said years later that it was because of you we won. You know, I never thought I would be a teacher. I didn't study it, but then in the end I became a teacher because I thought that this will be something that, so I think that teachers are privileged in that way because they get paid for this.
Yeah.
You know, it's a profession, you know, and we should be very, very grateful that we have this, you know, this career, that this is our expertise. You know, we're teachers, but actually everybody's a teacher. And I think this is, sometimes teachers get annoyed with this, you know, when parents come and they complain, or even the students complain that this is wrong, you're wrong, you know, and teachers think, well, how could she say this? I'm the teacher. How could I be wrong? But we're all teachers, even though we know that we know more, but that doesn't matter. That's not the point.
You had great, you have great expertise about this, because I have never heard someone say so many things about being a teacher, not being afraid of being a teacher, because teachers nowadays are afraid of this or that, but you said things that are really for teachers, right? I mean, you are not afraid of being what you are. That's what I mean. I mean,
you're thinking
you
of
can
young
be a
teachers.
traditional teacher, you can be yourself, you can be a great teacher, no matter what you use, whatever, what you pick up to support your classes, right? I think this is unbelievable. Great, great, great.
Well, you know, it's seeing teachers and appreciating teachers, and really, I think that this is for anyone. If you, whatever you do, if you do it your way and you don't try to copy somebody else or do what somebody else does because they tell you that that's the right way, and that's what everybody's doing, so you know it's right. No, you know, you have to do what you feel comfortable in doing, the way you want to do it. If you want to change, you'll change. But I think it's wrong to force anyone to do things your way. I mean, as if, because you're not them. I mean, everybody is, you know, has a right to be them, and to do things their way. And I think that the problem is that many teachers have lost this authenticity. They don't know who they are anymore, because they you know, I remember it happened to me too. You know, when I started teaching, they told me, you've got to be tough on the first day of school, because if you're not going to be tough, they're going to climb all over you and they're going to take advantage of you, and you have to be tough, and you have to never smile, because if you smile, that's the end of it. They're going to attack you, you know, or you know, they will not respect you. They only respect people who come in, you know, with this stern look and so on. And I never listened to that, you know, because, or, you know, some teachers yell at their students because they think that's the way to do it in many countries, you know, it's, and I just think that they don't have to behave the way they think other people want them to behave, you know. It's like, I know a lot of teachers in many countries are not respected, and they're underpaid. And there's a lot of demand on them to, you know, to accomplish things, to make as if they're magicians, you know. Students have to have good grades. If the grades are too low, then the teachers always blamed for everything. So it's it's understandable the teachers feel intimidated and afraid because they don't know, who do I listen to? What do I do? I mean, like, they're bullied by many principals and administrators and mistreated. I know that. What I say is, try to learn to take care of yourself first. And then don't leave the profession. You don't have to leave, because things are hard. Stay. But take care of yourself and try to learn about yourself and look at your students. Because the minute you look at your students and you stop looking at everybody else, you'll see wonderful people that, really beautiful people. And as I said, if they don't look beautiful, imagine that you're looking at babies and see what you can do.
Lily, thank you very, very, very much. I learned a lot with your talk, a lot.
Thank
Be
you.
yourself, I think was the most important words you said. Be yourself, know yourself, and then if you know yourself, you can try to understand more about the people, and then things go better.
Yep. That's why I say relationships. The minute you build trust, and if that's your focus, then everything else will make sense. And you may get hurt every once in a while, but it'll be less and less because you'll grow. But I think that you probably, I mean, how long have you been teaching? If I may ask.
I taught for 30 years and then I stopped. Now I'm only working with this group from SEST. Is a center of society, a center that discusses things about society and the technology. So I am in this group for 5 or 6 years already, and I enjoy very much what I do. That's why I enjoy also talking to people from different countries, from different areas of knowledge, because as you said, we are always learning. And the more you learn, the better you become, the more you know and understand yourself also, right? So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nelly, very, very much.
Thank you. And thank you very much for the invitation and give me a chance to talk about something that I don't think I talked about. I mean, I don't think, these are things that, are on my mind, but I don't think I articulated them in one go like that ever before. So thank you very much for the opportunity to reflect on these things. Thank you.
This brainstorm is always nice and came with new ideas.
That's right. Right. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Nelly. But next time, I'm going to ask you about chat pie.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
I enjoyed it so much.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Somebody asked me to compare that to ChatGPT. I'm going to do it later on. So you follow my YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I enjoyed very much because it's completely different. It's different. I think it is more creative. It's more effective. I don't know if there is a word such as effective for a chat, but it was really funny when I was using it. So next time I wanted to talk about the chat. Is it pi or p? Pi?
I think it's pi, but who knows how they pronounce? I think it's pi. It's hey pi. Hey, it's HEY. HPI. But there's something even more exciting. There's something called DID, D dash in the middle ID. I think you'll like that. If you go into my YouTube channel, you'll see me with my a photo of me speaking. So I think you'll find that interesting. You have my YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I do.
If not, you can find it, Nelly Deutsch, you'll find it. All right, so thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very, very much. Next time we talk about these things, okay?
Okay, that'll be a lot easier.
Nelly. Thank you very, very much. Bye.
Thank you, bye.